Commander Kale pressed his six-fingered hand against the cool metal surface of his ship's observation window. Below him, the third planet from this small yellow star spun slowly in the darkness of space. Green and blue swirled together in beautiful patterns across its surface. Dense forests covered most of the land, broken only by vast oceans that sparkled under the alien sun. "What do you see down there, Lieutenant Thex?" Kale asked his second-in-command, who was bent over a complex array of scanning equipment. Thex's four eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the readouts. "Nothing unusual, Commander. The planet shows abundant plant life and many different animal species, but no signs of intelligent civilization. No energy signatures from cities or technology. No radio signals or electromagnetic emissions. The air is clean with no industrial pollution." Kyle nodded, watching a herd of large brown creatures move slowly across an open plain. They looked peaceful, grazing on the thick grass that grew everywhere. Flying creatures with wide wings soared between the trees, their calls probably echoing through the quiet forests below. It was exactly the kind of world the Vorthak Empire looked for when they needed new resources. "Run a deep scan on the northern continent," Kale ordered. "I want to be absolutely certain before we file our report." The scanning beams reached down through the atmosphere, penetrating deep into the planet's surface. The results came back quickly. Rich mineral deposits lay beneath the soil. The forests contained valuable timber. The oceans held rare elements that could power their ships for centuries. And best of all, there was no one to stop them from taking it. Far below, hidden deep inside what the aliens saw as a natural mountain formation, Colonel Park Jin-ho sat in a dimly lit command center. The walls around him were grown from modified plant matter, shaped by decades of careful biological engineering. To any scanner from above, this place looked like solid rock and root systems, but inside, the most advanced technology on Earth hummed quietly. "Sir, we're detecting active scans from the orbital vessels," reported Lieutenant Kim So-ra, her fingers dancing across controls that looked more like living vines than electronic equipment. "They're using standard energy detection protocols. Our camouflage is holding perfectly." Jin-ho watched the alien ships through hidden sensors that had been disguised as natural crystal formations on the mountain's peak. The ships were large and industrial-looking, built for harvesting rather than war. That was good news and bad news. Good because it meant they weren't immediately planning to attack. Bad because it meant they were planning something much worse. "Any word from the other hidden sites?" Jin-ho asked. "All reporting normal concealment status," So-ra replied. "The ocean bases are reading as coral reefs. The desert installations look like rock formations. The forest cities are completely invisible under their canopy cover. As far as the aliens know, this is an empty world. This had been humanity's greatest achievement and its most carefully guarded secret. 50 years ago, when the first alien scout ships had been detected at the edge of the solar system, world leaders had made a desperate decision. Instead of preparing for open warfare, they had chosen to hide. Every city, every military base, every sign of human civilization had been rebuilt using technology that worked with nature instead of against it. Buildings grew from the earth using modified fungi and plant matter. Roads followed animal paths and were covered with living camouflage. Power came from geothermal sources and biological processes that created no detectable signatures. Entire populations had moved underground or into structures that looked like natural formations from above. It had taken 2 generations to complete the transformation. Children had grown up learning that the most important rule was never to be seen from space. The sky was always watching, and one day something would come from the stars. Above them, Commander Kale finished his survey and began preparing his report. The planet was perfect for immediate harvesting. The Vorthak Empire could send their colony ships and extraction vessels right away. There would be no resistance from primitive animals and plants. "Set course for home," Kyle ordered. "Command will be very pleased with this discovery. A whole world of resources with no complications." As the alien ships turned away from Earth and disappeared into the darkness between stars, Jin-ho allowed himself a small smile. The deception had worked. The alien saw only forests and animals, exactly as planned, but he knew that in 6 months, maybe less, they would return with a full harvesting fleet. "Send the signal to all stations," he ordered quietly. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin preparations for Phase 2. The real test is coming." Deep in hidden bunkers around the world, thousands of people received the same message. The aliens had taken the bait. They thought Earth was defenseless. Soon, they would learn that the quiet forest had teeth and the peaceful animals were actually the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The survey was over. The trap was set. Now came the waiting. 6 months passed like a slow storm approaching from the horizon. Commander Kyle returned to the blue and green world, but this time he brought friends. Behind his lead ship came dozens of massive vessels, each one the size of a small city. These were not warships built for fighting. These were harvesting machines built to strip entire planets bare. Captain Veltar commanded the largest harvester ship in the fleet. He had done this work on 50 different worlds, turning forests into lumber and mountains into mining pits. This job looked easier than most. No cities to avoid, no intelligent species to relocate, no environmental protection laws to follow. Just pure, simple harvesting. "Begin atmospheric entry," Veltar ordered his crew. "Start with the northern forests." The scans showed the highest concentration of valuable timber there. The first harvester ship descended through the clouds like a falling mountain. Its massive plasma cutters began to glow as they prepared to slice through the thick forest canopy. From space, the operation looked clean and efficient. Bright lines of energy swept across the green landscape, cutting down trees that had grown for hundreds of years. But something was wrong almost immediately. "Sir," called out his scanning officer, "we're finding strange objects under the tree cover." Veltar frowned and looked at the display screen, where his cutters had cleared away. The forest, the ground showed unusual patterns, straight lines that looked too regular to be natural, flat areas that seemed to have been deliberately shaped, and scattered everywhere, pieces of something that definitely was not wood or stone. "Bring up a closer view," Veltar ordered. The image zoomed in on one of the cleared areas. What they saw made the entire bridge fall silent. There were structures down there, but not the simple huts or caves they might expect from primitive beings. These were complex buildings, made from materials that looked almost grown rather than built. And moving between the ruined structures were creatures that walked on 2 legs, wearing what could only be clothing. Deep beneath the surface, in what the aliens' sensors read as a natural cave system, Lee Min-jun held his wife Choi Hye-jin as the ground shook above them. They could hear the terrible sound of the plasma cutters destroying everything their people had built over decades. Their home, their gardens, their carefully hidden community was being erased from existence. "They don't even know we're here," Hye-jin whispered, tears running down her face. "To them, we're just animals in the forest." Min-jun pressed his face against a small viewing port that looked up through a camouflaged opening. He could see the alien harvester ship hovering above like a mechanical storm cloud. Its cutting beams swept back and forth methodically, treating their neighborhood like unwanted weeds. "Emergency transmission to all hidden sites," Min-jun spoke into his bioorganic communicator. "The harvesting has begun. They're destroying Soul Sector. Maintain concealment protocols. Do not reveal yourselves yet." Around the globe, similar scenes were playing out. In what the aliens saw as empty ocean, Commander Park Yeon-su's submarine sat motionless on the sea floor. Through his periscope, he watched alien ships hovering over the waves, their massive extraction beams reaching down to harvest minerals from the ocean bed. They had no idea that one of Earth's most advanced military bases sat directly beneath them, disguised as a natural coral formation. "Sonar contact, sir," whispered his navigation officer. "The harvester ships are directly above our position." "Maintain silent running," Yeon-su ordered quietly. "Let them think we're just part of the reef." Above the waves, the alien crew worked efficiently. Their sensors showed rich deposits of rare metals scattered across the ocean floor. The extraction beams began their work, sucking up huge amounts of seawater and sediment. But mixed in with the natural materials were things that made no sense. Refined metals in geometric shapes, synthetic materials that could not occur naturally, and sometimes bodies of the strange, two-legged creatures they kept finding. Captain Veltar stood in his command center, staring at a collection of artifacts. His crews had pulled from the harvesting sites a device that looked like a communication tool, clothing made from synthetic fibers. What appeared to be some kind of vehicle, though its design was unlike anything in the Vorthak database. "Sir," his chief scientist approached carefully, "I believe we may have made an error in our initial survey." Veltar turned his attention to the smaller alien. "What kind of error?" "These creatures, they appear to be intelligent, possibly even technologically advanced. But their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. It seems to be integrated with biological systems, making it nearly invisible to our scanning methods." As if to confirm the scientist's words, more reports came flooding in from harvesting sites around the planet. Crews were finding underground tunnel networks that looked natural but showed clear signs of construction. Underwater installations that appeared to be grown from coral but contained sophisticated equipment. Mountain installations hidden so perfectly within the rock formations that they were only discovered when the cutting beams accidentally broke through their outer walls. The terrible truth was beginning to dawn on the Vorthak command. This was not an empty world of forests and animals. This was the home of an intelligent species that had learned to hide so perfectly that even advanced alien technology could not detect them. And for the past 6 months, the Vorthak had been systematically destroying their civilization without even knowing it existed. The harvesting continued, but now every cut of the plasma beams revealed more evidence of the massive mistake they had made. They had not come to harvest an empty world. They had come to destroy someone's home. Deep beneath the mountains that the aliens had labeled as Natural Formation Group 7, General Nam Dong-Wu sat in a command center that had been carved from living rock and shaped by decades of patient work. The walls pulsed gently with bioluminescent lights that drew power from underground root systems. To any scanner from above, this place looked like solid mountain stone. But inside, it was the beating heart of Earth's hidden defense network. "Report, Major O," Dong-Wu said quietly, his eyes fixed on displays that showed the destruction happening above ground. Major O Yunji's voice was tight with controlled anger as she read from her organic interface screens. "Seoul sector has been completely harvested. Tokyo underwater base is maintaining concealment, but the aliens are extracting materials directly above them. New York's forest cover is gone. The aliens are finding bodies, sir. They're starting to realize what they've done." Dongwu watched the tactical displays that showed alien harvesting ships spread across the globe like a disease. Red dots marked areas where human settlements had been discovered and destroyed. Each dot represented thousands of lives lost, communities that had spent 50 years perfecting their camouflage, only to be wiped out by aliens who thought they were clearing weeds. "How many casualties?" he asked. "Preliminary estimates suggest 12 million dead, sir, and they still don't understand they're killing us. Their communications intercepts show they think we're just animals that happened to build nests." The irony was bitter. Humanity had spent 2 generations becoming invisible, learning to live in harmony with their planet's natural systems. They had given up the old ways of building with steel and concrete, instead growing their cities from modified organisms and hiding their technology inside biological camouflage. It had worked perfectly against the alien scouts, but now that same invisibility was getting them slaughtered. "Sir," called out Captain Lim Tae-ho from his station across the command center, "we're receiving activation codes from hidden sites worldwide. Everyone is asking for permission to reveal themselves and fight back." Dongwu looked at the communication board, where dozens of green lights showed hidden military installations around the globe. Each light represented years of preparation, weapon systems that had been built in secret and hidden so well that even humanity sometimes forgot they existed. Submarine fleets resting in ocean trenches, fighter squadrons concealed in modified cave systems, orbital defense platforms disguised as space debris. For 50 years, these installations had waited in silence. Now their crews were watching their people die and begging for permission to strike back. "Not yet," Dongwu said firmly. "Let them think we're defenseless a little longer. The longer they believe we're just animals, the more careless they'll become." In the deep Pacific Ocean, Commander Park Yeon-soo sat in his submarine command center, 2 miles beneath the waves. His vessel looked like a natural ridge on the ocean floor, covered with real coral and sea plants that had been carefully cultivated to hide the metal beneath. Through the ship's sensors, he could see alien harvesting vessels directly above, their extraction beams sucking up minerals from the seabed. "Sir, request permission to surface and engage," whispered his weapons officer. "We could take out 3 of their ships before they know what hit them." Yeon-soo watched the alien ships through his periscope, his hands clenched into fists. "Hold position. General Dongwu's orders are to wait for the coordinated strike signal." It was torture to wait while the aliens destroyed everything above them, but Yeon-soo understood the strategy. The aliens still thought they were harvesting an empty world. They had no idea that Earth's oceans contained a submarine fleet that could rival any space navy. When the time came to strike, the surprise would be complete. High in the mountains of what the aliens called Geological Survey Zone 15, Captain Han Woo-jin prepared his Special Forces team for the mission they had trained for their entire lives. Their base was built inside a natural cave system, but the caves had been expanded and modified over decades. Advanced weapons and equipment were stored in chambers that looked like natural rock formations. His soldiers had been born underground and raised to move through tunnel systems like they were city streets. "Final equipment check," Woo-jin ordered his team. "Remember, when the signal comes, we hit fast and hard. The aliens think we're forest animals. Let's show them what Earth's predators can really do." Each soldier carried weapons that looked almost organic, grown from advanced materials that could not be detected by alien scanners. Their armor was made from bioengineered materials that would camouflage them even under direct observation. They had spent years learning to fight in ways that would seem impossible to aliens who expected warfare to follow predictable patterns. Back in the Mountain Command Center, General Dongwu received a final transmission from the surface. The message was brief but clear. The aliens had discovered enough evidence to realize they were destroying an intelligent species. Panic was beginning to spread through their harvesting fleets. "They know," Dongwu announced to his command staff. "The aliens finally understand they've been committing genocide. They're scared and confused. Perfect." He stood up and walked to the center of the command room, where a bioorganic communication system connected him to every hidden military installation on Earth and in space. "All stations, this is command. The awakening phase is complete. Our enemy has revealed their weakness. They came here to harvest forests and animals. It's time to show them what happens when Earth's apex predators decide to hunt." His finger moved toward the activation switch that would bring 50 years of hidden preparation into the light. The forest was about to fight back. The signal went out at exactly noon, Earth time. Across the planet, 50 years of hidden preparation exploded into action like a sleeping volcano suddenly erupting. What the aliens had dismissed as empty forests and lifeless oceans transformed into the most sophisticated military network they had ever encountered. Commander Veltar was standing on the bridge of his harvesting ship when the first attack came. He was studying reports about the strange artifacts his crews kept finding when his vessel suddenly shook violently. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the ship. "What was that?" Veltar shouted over the noise. "Unknown weapons fire from below, sir," his tactical officer reported, panic clear in his voice. "Multiple contacts rising from the ocean floor." Through the bridge windows, Veltar watched in amazement as the sea around his ship began to boil with activity. What had looked like empty water moments before now swarmed with sleek vessels that seemed to rise from the depths like sea monsters. They moved with deadly precision, their weapons already firing before they fully breached the surface. Commander, Park Yeon-soo's submarine broke through the waves just 500 meters from the alien harvester. For months, his crew had watched the aliens work above them, learning their patterns and weaknesses. Now it was time to use that knowledge. "Fire. All forward tubes," Yeon-soo ordered calmly. 6 torpedoes streaked through the water toward the massive alien vessel. The harvester ship, built for industrial work rather than combat, had no defense against military weapons. The explosions tore through its hull like paper, sending pieces of alien metal raining down into the ocean. Target the extraction equipment, Yansu continued. These ships are useless if they cannot harvest. Around the globe, similar scenes played out with devastating effectiveness. Alien harvesting operations that had seemed completely safe suddenly became death traps as Earth revealed its true nature. In the ruins of what had been downtown Seoul, Captain Han Woo-jin led his special forces team up from the subway tunnels that the aliens had catalogued as natural cave systems. The tunnels connected every major city on Earth through a network that had taken decades to build. Now they served as highways for human soldiers who could appear anywhere without warning. Remember, hit the joints where their machines connect, Woo-jin whispered to his team as they emerged from a concealed entrance that looked like a natural crack in the rocks. These harvesting tools were not built to fight back. The alien work crew never saw them coming. One moment they were operating their plasma cutters in what they thought was a safe clearing. The next moment, human soldiers appeared from the ground itself, their bioorganic weapons targeting the vulnerable connection points on the alien machinery. The massive equipment collapsed in sparks and smoke, trapping several aliens beneath twisted metal. High above the mountains, Major Shin Ye-jin's fighter squadron screamed out of camouflaged hangar doors that had been invisible until the moment they opened. Her aircraft had been designed to mimic the electromagnetic signatures of migrating birds, allowing them to fly undetected for years. But now, they dropped their disguise and revealed their deadly purpose. All units, target the command ships first, Ye-jin transmitted to her pilots. Take out their coordination and the rest will be easy targets. The alien pilots had no idea what hit them. Their sensors had been tracking what looked like a flock of large birds approaching their position. Suddenly, those birds transformed into advanced fighter aircraft launching missiles with pinpoint accuracy. The alien ships, designed for space travel rather than atmospheric combat, fell from the sky like burning rain. Admiral Ko Min-ho's submarine fleet rose from ocean trenches around the world, their vessels having remained hidden for months while alien sensors registered them as whale pods or underwater rock formations. The submarines had been built using biomimetic technology that made them nearly indistinguishable from sea life until they chose to reveal themselves. All vessels, execute attack pattern Leviathan, Min-ho ordered from his flagship. Show them what Earth's oceans really contain. The alien fleet found themselves surrounded by enemies that seemed to materialize from empty water. Submarines that had been invisible moments before now launched coordinated attacks with military precision. The aliens' industrial ships, caught completely off guard, could only watch helplessly as their fleet was systematically destroyed by an enemy they never knew existed. Captain Veltar, his ship crippled and burning, stared at his tactical displays, in complete disbelief. The readouts showed hostile contacts appearing everywhere across the planet. Underground installations that had been invisible were now revealing massive weapon systems. Aircraft were emerging from mountains that his surveys had shown as solid rock. The ocean was full of submarines that had somehow hidden from his most advanced sensors. How is this possible? He whispered to himself. His science officer, badly injured from the submarine attack, managed to give him an answer that chilled him to his core. Sir, we didn't find an empty world. We found a world where an entire technological civilization learned to hide inside their planet's natural ecosystem. They've been watching us, learning our weaknesses, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, the Yao. Truth hit Veltar like a physical blow. The quiet forests had been full of hidden cities. The empty oceans had contained entire military fleets. The lifeless mountains had hidden sophisticated command centers. Earth's inhabitants had not been primitive animals living in harmony with nature. They had been apex predators using nature as perfect camouflage while they prepared for war. The forest was striking back, and it had teeth sharper than anything the Vorthak Empire had ever encountered. Commander Kyle sat in the ruins of his command ship, emergency lights flickering red around him as damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. Half of his vessels were destroyed or crippled. The other half were retreating in panic as Earth's Hidden defenses continued to reveal themselves like a nightmare unfolding in slow motion. "Status report," Kyle demanded, though he already knew the answer would be terrible. Lieutenant Thex, his uniform torn and his 4 eyes wide with shock, struggled to read from his damaged console. 87% of our harvesting operations have been terminated by hostile action, sir. We have lost contact with most of our ground teams. The planet's inhabitants are not primitive animals. They are something far more dangerous than we ever imagined. Through the cracked viewport of his bridge, Kale watched something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. What he had catalogued months ago as natural space debris was beginning to move. Asteroids that should have been dead rock were lighting up with energy signatures. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as cosmic junk for decades were dropping their camouflage and turning toward his fleet. "Sir," his tactical officer called out in a voice filled with terror, "we are detecting massive weapons systems throughout the system. Hidden bases on asteroids, concealed installations on the planet's moon, orbital defense platforms that were completely invisible until now. They have been watching us since we first arrived." On Earth's surface, General Nam Dong-woo stood in his mountain command center, watching displays that showed the complete destruction of the alien invasion force. But his expression was not one of celebration. It was grim satisfaction mixed with deep sadness for all the lives that had been lost before they could reveal their true strength. "Final phase activation," he ordered quietly. "Bring all systems online. Let them see what they really stumbled into." Around the Earth, the last layer of humanity's deception fell away like a snake shedding its skin. Hidden cities began to glow with power as their camouflage systems shut down. Orbital elevators that had been disguised as natural phenomena extended into space. Massive space stations that had appeared to be dead moons suddenly blazed with life and activity. Captain Lee Min-jun, his face streaked with dirt and tears from watching his neighborhood be destroyed, stood on the surface for the first time in months. Around him, the ruins of Seoul were transforming as hidden systems came back online. Buildings that had been reduced to rubble began to regenerate using bio-organic repair systems. The city was literally growing back from its own destruction. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," Min-jun said into his communicator. He had been chosen to deliver humanity's message because he had lost the most in the initial attack, and his words would carry the weight of Earth's pain and anger. The transmission reached Commander Kale's ship just as he was preparing to retreat from the system. The image that appeared on his screen was of a human male, but the eyes that looked back at him contained intelligence that was both ancient and terrifyingly advanced. "I am Captain Lee Min-jun of the Earth Defense Force," the human said in perfect Vorthak language, which shocked Kale even more. "You came to our world thinking you would find forests and animals. You did not realize that we are the forest, and we are the apex predators of this ecosystem." Kyle found his voice, though it shook with the weight of his terrible mistake. We did not know. Our surveys showed no signs of intelligent life. How could we have missed an entire civilization?" Min-jun's expression was cold as winter space. "Because we chose to be invisible. 50 years ago, we detected your scout ships at the edge of our system. We could have revealed ourselves then, could have made contact and perhaps found peaceful relations. Instead, we chose to hide and prepare, because we had learned that the galaxy is full of species like yours who see other worlds as resources to be harvested, rather than homes to be respected." Behind Min-jun, the true scope of Earth's hidden civilization began to reveal itself. Cities that stretched for hundreds of kilometers underground, connected by tunnel networks that spanned continents. Orbital installations that had been concealed for decades, now showing their true size and power. Fleet after fleet of warships emerging from hidden bases, their numbers growing with each passing minute. "We integrated our technology with our planet's natural systems," Min-jun continued. "We learned to live as part of our world's ecosystem instead of destroying it. To your scanners, our cities looked like forests. Our military bases looked like mountains and coral reefs. Our weapons platforms looked like space debris. We became invisible by becoming one with our environment." Commander Kale felt a chill run through his entire body as he finally understood the magnitude of his species' error. They had not invaded a primitive world. They had attacked the home of a civilization that had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this moment. Earth's inhabitants had turned their entire planet into a massive military trap, and the Vorthak Empire had walked directly into it. "What do you want from us?" Kyle asked, knowing that his fleet was completely at the mercy of these hidden predators. Min Jun's smile was sharp as a blade. "We want you to leave our system and never return, but more than that, we want you to carry a message back to your empire. Tell them what you found here. Tell them that Earth is not a world of forests and animals. Earth is the home of humanity, and we are the most dangerous species you will ever encounter. We have learned to hide in plain sight, to strike from shadows you never knew existed, and to turn our entire world into a weapon when threatened." As the surviving alien ships limped away from Earth's system, they left behind a changed galaxy. Word would spread quickly through the Vorthak Empire and beyond about the world that fought back, about the species that had turned camouflage into an art form and used it to create the perfect trap. But behind them, human ships were already following, their own exploration fleets preparing to step out of the shadows and take their place among the stars. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy was about to learn what it meant when Earth's apex predators decided to expand their territory. The forest had struck back, and now it was time for the hunt to begin.